annexed into the city. But before we get to that, I'd like to declare we do have a quorum tonight. We need to do approval of the previous minutes for the June meeting.
So moved.
Octavia makes a motion, Steve seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Tonight, Mr. Ethan Calhoun from the Northwest Georgia Regional Commission Office will review the procedures and process for tonight's meeting. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For tonight's meeting, we'll follow a set agenda, and the chairman, of course, will lead us through the meeting. You can see the agenda on the screen. If you'd like a copy, we should have plenty of those copies just out front on the table as you walked into the room. And every item on tonight's agenda will essentially function exactly the same. And that will be that the chairman will open up the hearing. I'll come forward to this podium, give a short presentation and a recommendation from the staff. After my comments have been heard, the chairman is going to ask the petitioner, and that is the person who's here to request to rezone or annex their property, to come forward and answer any questions that may come up between the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners. Once the petitioner's comments have been heard, the chairman is going to ask if there's anyone else other than the petitioner or the property owner who is here to speak in favor of that item. Once all comments in favor of this item have been heard, the chairman will ask if anyone here tonight would like to speak in opposition to that particular item. If you are here to speak in opposition, it is critical that out front where the agendas are placed, that you fill out and sign the document that says county or city opposition forms. We have one for county and one for city. If you're not sure which jurisdiction that your item is in, just look at that agenda. It'll have it at the end in parentheses and as well on the screen. Make sure to fill out that disclosure form. That's a state law, and that basically allows us to enter your comments into the record. So make sure to fill that out, note which item it is you're speaking in opposition to, print your name clearly, and then sign it. Hand that to me. I'll be sitting up front just over here before you approach the podium to make your statements. At that point, everything can carry forward. Your comments can be heard and recorded in the record. Once that opposition remarks have been heard, the chairman is going to ask if the petitioner would like to come back forward and address any of those issues that were raised in the opposition's remarks. At that point, if the petitioner does not introduce any new evidence to the case, then the chairman will close that public hearing, move to the next item, and that exact same pattern will follow suit. Once all of the public hearings have been held on the agenda, the chairman is going to move us into the regular meeting, and that is where the Planning Commission will deliberate on each of these items, and they will make a recommendation. That recommendation will be transcribed into writing and sent to the Board of Commissioners and to the Mayor and Council of the City of Dalton so that they can then make their final decisions to approve or deny at their upcoming meetings, likely in August. So tonight's purpose is to hold public hearings. That is our procedure. And again, the forms, if anyone would like specifically to speak in opposition, those forms are out front. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ethan. The first request is to hear from Dennis and Melissa Flowers. I'm going to ask if you raise your hand if you're here.
Yes, she just somebody.
Where's that?
In the doorway.
Oh, that's you. Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask before each one of these requests, we just need to verify that the people are here before we get into reviewing what's going on. To rezone from GA and R5 to R5 and GA, a tract of land 17.08 acres at 437 Cohutta Beaverdale Road. This one is in the county. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This request at first seems a little bit confusing, but overall it's quite simple. And essentially what we have is this property, subject property, two separate parcels of land totaling together roughly 17 acres. The smaller piece of property, the majority of it is zoned R5. A small portion is zoned GA. And the exact opposite is true for the larger property, which you can see the piece of that property where it says site, majority of that's green, general agriculture. And what they're looking to do is clean that up so that what we would essentially be looking at is larger tract GA, smaller tract R5, and I've got, I believe, if I can illustrate that here. So you can see the smaller of these tracts would become R5, a new division of land would occur, and then the larger tract, which would essentially be a flag lot, you can see here, would remain in GA. So that is the essential request, and this is the best way to illustrate that. Going back and looking at zoning, this would really not ultimately affect the zoning in this area. It's a very small change to the subject property, so this would be very minor. And looking at the area, GA and R5 are both very common, and both lot sizes are typical, so we wouldn't expect this to have any change on the character of the area. Here we can see the development of the area, very rural, very low density. This rezoning, if approved, would not change the character of the area from what we see here. And again, rural residential. The number one zone district for rural residential, of course, is general agriculture, and this really would not change that. Again, this is basically shifting some property lines around minorly, with the existing zoning essentially staying in place, but with small adjustments. So we don't see that impacting the future development map. And again, here is the proposal for the subject properties division, should the rezoning be approved. Recommendation from staff is to approve. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions here? No? Thank you, Ethan. Ms. Flowers?
I believe that's the correct plat. Can't 100%.
Jean's got her hand out back here.
Gene,
Gene?
That is not the correct plat.
Move it forward one.
That's the correct.
Okay, could you come on up and explain it?
Yeah, so we're essentially just wanting to do
Okay.
keep it the same.
Come on up to the microphone and identify yourself, name and address.
My name's Sonia Quijano. Sorry. Sonia Quijano. Mr. Dennis is running a little bit late, but I'm here with him. So, yeah, I don't know if we want to wait on him. He was going to be about 15 minutes late.
What do you think?
are you released?
Can we
No, you're not
Sorry?
pull it and come back to it at the end of the meeting?
at the end of the meeting?
That.
Looking at the bottom of the agenda.
Slide it to
Yeah.
them. Okay, let's
Slide
do
it-
that.
Slide it down to
Okay.
the
We'll
bottom.
wait for him. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Might want to call him and tell him to
Yeah.
get here.
It's already missed.
I will make a motion to amend the agenda to move item, what was that? Move item A down to the bottom of the agenda to
Second.
give the petitioner more time.
Chris seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. All right, moving on to the next request is to hear from Kenneth Cooper to rezone from R2 to GA, 229 acres on Mount Olivet Road in the county. Ethan?
Or is he here?
Good question. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this request, of course, is a large tract of land, combined total 229 acres along Mount Olivet Road. Currently zoned R2 conditional. You guys may recall this property from a month or two ago when there was a telecommunications tower, a new cell phone tower up just south of Cohutta. That, of course, would be on this property. So just a quick notion that because it is currently R2 conditional for that telecommunications tower, which was approved for that special use permit, by changing the underlying zoning to GA, we'll also need to ensure that that conditional use permit for a telecommunications tower carries forward in that motion for approval. Overall, the area here is, of course, a mix between various densities of residential, mostly low-density, single-family detached. We see the R5 zone district, but most of what we see in that R5 zone district is more in line with what we would expect to see in R1 or R2 in most cases. The R2 zone district is the second most restricted residential zone district in the Unified Zoning Ordinance. The GA zone district would allow for agricultural practices to occur on this property, as well as accessory buildings, any kind of animal husbandry, and basically any and all agricultural uses, along with a number of other conditional uses. Just a quick pointer that this property is within unincorporated Whitfield County, but bounded on two of its flanks by City of Cohutta incorporated property. And here we can see the subject property in its current state, which is very agricultural in nature. You can see large pastoral lands, some wooded areas overall, but highly undeveloped. And we can see that with the majority of property in this area is very low density, quasi-agricultural, rural type development. So going from R2 to GA at this location would not be as significant of a change as it might be in other areas from R2 to GA. Just to point that out, and we can see that in the aerial photo here of just the character of the area. And of course, Cohutta being a municipality is a very rural city itself. So overall, looking at the area and how this would fit in terms of zoning, it would create an island of GA, but looking at the topography of the subject property, some of the things that sometimes draw concern with large GA tracts like this don't seem to be a concern in this case, because there is a significant amount of topography on the subject property that would imagine be very costly to grade to create any sort of commercial poultry farming or anything like that. So with that in consideration, really didn't consider that to be much of a threat for the area and those adjacent single-family homes. Here we have emerging suburban character area for this area, and of course, this property at some point in the future could be developed, but at current, the petitioner's desire is to return it to its previous use, which has been agricultural now for some time. With that being said, again, it would not change the overall character of this area based on the adjacent zoning and development. So the staff recommendation is for an approval, but also to add, it wasn't in the staff analysis, but a point of clarification that if an approval is made, to ensure that in the motion, a conditional use permit is included in the recommendation for a telecommunications tower, since that has recently been approved. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Ethan, I drove out there, but are there cattle on there now? When you say they're gonna use it for an agricultural purposes, are they gonna have animal husbandry out there? Are they gonna farm it? Is it gonna be, do you know what we're doing?
That I'm not certain. I believe the petitioner can probably
Okay.
give a better understanding of what their plans are.
All right, thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Cooper?
I got a few tremors, so you have to overlook them.
So do we. Go ahead.
God.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Kenneth Cooper,
Okay.
71 Sugar Creek Lane, Ringo, Georgia.
And do you have any comments you'd like to add?
I do. That farm has been in the family for 100 years. It's always been used as a farm. How it got changed to R2, I have no idea, and nobody can tell me. So, it's a family farm. It always has been, and that's the way I want to keep it. It's been in the covenant ever since the covenant was set up. We refile it every year, or when it's due, as farm property. It will have cattle on it. That's the reason I bought it. I had some heirs that I told them if they'd price it to me to where I could buy it, I would purchase the property. So I bought the property. It's, I cleaned it up. I've worked on it for the last 50 years, cleaning it up, making it in good pasture and stuff, to run cattle on. That was my intention, to run cattle as long as I could, and I did. And the boy that I rented it to says it's a little piece of heaven. It's got some beautiful sights up there that you can see forever. But I have no interest in it being developed. I don't want houses on it.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? Anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? Very well, we will close the public portion on that request. Next one to hear from Chrissy Klein. Are you out there? Chrissy Klein? Anybody representing Chrissy Klein at 2771 Deep Springs Road?
Going once?
Well, we'll have to table this one till next week.
First person's fellow showed up, so if you want to go back to that one.
We're going to table Chrissy Klein.
Do we need a motion to table Chrissy Klein?
No, it's no show. I don't think so.
Okay.
The issue now is do we want to pick up item A at this time?
You'll need to amend the agenda.
You want to amend the agenda? Anybody? Or you just want to leave it till the end?
Just leave it like it is.
Just leave it till the end?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it till the end. All right.
Shuffle it again.
Next one is to hear from Tracy Baldridge. Are you here? Very good, thank you. Is as a request to change from GA to R5, 1 acre at 198 Crosby Way. This one is in the county. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is rezoning from general agriculture to rural residential. And this is a property that is an air division. So what we have here is a larger piece of property, and the proposal here is to divide off 1 acre of land from the subject property's parent tract that is zoned general agriculture. The only portion of the subject property that would be for rezoning will be the small,
Can I interrupt you?
yes, sir.
I think you've got something transposed wrong on the agenda. Which, is this property Deep Springs or, look at the agenda.
Crosby Way or Deep Springs? The detail shows
I think you got them.
Deep Springs.
Yeah, the address of the homestead.
Yeah,
Yes.
Deep Springs.
It's Crosby Way.
Acre is on Deep Springs.
Say that again?
The homestead where the house is.
Yeah.
It's Crosby
Where the
Way.
farm for the property is Crosby Way,
Uh-huh.
but this is on Deep Springs Road, but it doesn't have an address.
What's the address of Deep Springs Road? You said it doesn't have an address?
It doesn't have a number.
I got
It's
you.
just on
Okay.
Deep Springs Road.
Okay, so we're not confusing the property with somebody else. Correct?
That's correct.
27, what is it, 2771?
Yeah, the staff analysis shows 2771. That's what was throwing us off. Okay.
Yes,
Across the street.
I got you. Okay.
that's the one across the street.
Okay.
Okay, I got
That's the one that's
Yeah,
not here.
that's the notion.
twisted on our details here.
But your parcel numbers are correct, and we are on Deep Springs Road. And when we look at the subject property, it's as you can see again, 1 acre is the proposal for them to divide 1 acre of the subject property from its parent tract. We can see that outlined in bold. And that 1 acre tract would be zoned R5, rural residential, if it's approved. That would be the change. So looking at the zoning map in the area, we can see to the south of the subject property immediately multiple tracts of similar size and character and R5 zoning. So while the subject property is not adjacent immediately to the R5 zone district, it is in the immediate vicinity and has existed for some time with no negative effect that we can determine have been caused by any R5 zoning in this area. But for the most part, the GA zone district is the largest zone district in this area and are generally larger tracts. So this would just be carving off a small piece of a much larger tract of land. And in order to do that, they would need the R5 zoning in this case to be consistent with the area. And obviously, if it were a GA division, it would have to be at least 5 acres. And they're requesting to separate 1 acre. So that is what prompted the rezoning. Also, across the street from the subject property is a commercial sawmill. So the subject property, we have no anticipation that we're going to have any negative impact on adjacent properties, again, based on the existing zoning and character of the area. Here we can see the aerial, again, same thing. You can see those smaller tracts all have single-family dwellings, much like what we'd likely see on the subject property. Again, as the petitioner stated, it's currently undeveloped, currently has no access. This rezoning would allow them to create an access or at some point in the future also have a dwelling on the property. And here it's within the Rural Agricultural Reserve. This is generally reserved for large tract properties. GA is the best fit for this zone district, but given the very small size of the subject property, this is having little effect on the character of the area. It's certainly not changing the rural or the agricultural character of the area. And ultimately, a home could already be built on this property as Zone GA. You can have multiple dwellings, and the property could be divided with multiple dwellings on each parcel. So in this case, we don't see this as something that really undermines the integrity of the intent of the comprehensive plan. So having found no issues with that, staff analysis recommends approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
None? Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Ms. Baldridge?
This is for an
Could you-
estate.
could you
Oh,
state
my
your
name, Tracy Baldridge,
And your
and
address.
my address is 501 Lennox Way in Rocky Face. I'm the executor of the estate, and this is to split off 1 acre for an heir due to that estate.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
I think it's fairly simple. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we need. Is anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? Anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? Very well, we will move on to the next request. This one is to hear from Dalton Auction Company. Are you here, Representative? There you are. Seeking to rezone from C2 to M1, 2.65 acres located at 106 Lucille Drive. This is in the county. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This rezoning general commercial to light manufacturing. The differences in these zone districts essentially is that commercial zone district is more for strictly your commercial type uses. Light manufacturing is really more of an industrial zone district, but it is limited, unlike the heavy manufacturing zone district. So things can't be as intrusive in the M1 zone district as they can in the M2 zone district. Just to point out some of those differences. Looking at the zoning of the subject property and the petitioner's intent to be able to utilize the existing property for a plastic extrusion manufacturing operation. It's been used in the past, as I understand, as an auction house and various other things, but a commercial history in its use, proposed to be changed to that of light industrial or light manufacturing. Looking at zoning in this area, we see the C2 zone district is pretty consistent along the highway, South Dixie Highway, but we also see the M2 zone district all along this corridor and even adjacent to the subject property at the terminus of West Industrial Boulevard. So this transition from C2 to M1 is not what we would consider to be a significant transition. This would be a fairly minor change in the overall character of the subject property. And based on the location on South Dixie Highway and the historic development of this corridor, this would not ultimately be out of character with the area. Of course, any redevelopment of this property, if any buildings are raised or anything like that, any new development would occur. Of course, any buffers for the adjacent residential property would be required, just the same as any new construction. With that in consideration, the existing development, again, lots of industry, large commercial, and the future development map being commercial predominantly, but being very near the industrial character area as well, showing this area is in transition between commercial and industrial. Really don't cite any issues with this rezoning and recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And what again is going to be the use of this? What's the M1 going to be?
Plastic
Plastics.
extrusion,
Okay, that's right.
what they define in the application.
Thank you.
Petitioner may be able to speak to more about how they may be retrofitting or working with the structures and things on the property.
Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Okay, Dalton Auction?
I'm Chip Carmichael. I live at 1195 Oak Haven Drive, Roswell Road. I'm here on behalf of my mother who lives at, her name is Bobby Carmichael. She lives at 2616 Dixie Road, and she is the owner of the property. Those buildings are old, and they're the ones down in the hole, and we've tried warehousing, and it takes a toll on those buildings, especially carpet warehousing. We feel like very light manufacturing would be more gentle on the building and help it, keep going as a viable structure. The factory, and the fact is there will be fewer trucks. It's a one truck in a month for the inputs, and then some UPS and LTL once, twice a week on the outputs. They make dog bags is what they make. Somebody's got to make them, and these folks do. These folks, and we really, really want to lease this to them because this company has really good credit. And so we would just love it. We have, it's sitting in a half commercial, half residential neighborhood, and we have absolutely no intention of disrupting anybody's peace of mind or noise or what have you. The inputs are, there's no outflow, there's no water. It's just a machine that melts plastic and turns it into dog bags. That is it. It takes a little bit more power. It takes a three-phase. That's about it. Doesn't take any water, zero water. And there's no stack. There's no effluent. It's easy. It's just a nice modern machine. And that's what it is, if I can answer any questions.
Is there any intention to expand on the open property there, or are you just going to?
Not at this time.
Okay. So you just want to get a tenant in there?
We do. We'll look at that question later.
Yeah.
So the machine, does it have scrubbers or anything on it as far as the fumes?
There's no fumes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all self-contained, totally self-contained. Inputs in one side and the little bags come out the other, and then they roll them. It couldn't be any simpler, but,
Okay.
no vibration, no heat, no noise. Couldn't be any better. Good credit, couldn't be any better.
That's the biggest one.
Yeah, you got that right.
All right, if we don't have any more questions, down that way. Commissioners? No? All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Anybody else like to speak in favor? Anybody would like to speak in opposition? Excellent. We will move on to the next request. This is to hear from Maria DeCisneros. Are you here? Okay. Did I say it right? Okay. Seeking to rezone a tract of land from R5 to C2, 2.13 acres located at 3408 South Dixie Highway. This is in the county. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here we have another property rezoning on South Dixie Highway. This rezoning is proposed to rezone from rural residential to general commercial. And the purpose of this is in order to bring an existing commercial building back into conformity. It's existing as it is, it's non-conforming. Since we're talking about the property, let me pull up the aerial. So there's a commercial building toward the frontage of South Dixie Highway. To the more rear of the subject property, you'll see a second roof. That is a single-family dwelling. Currently, the single-family dwelling is in conformity. The commercial building is non-conforming. This rezoning would change that. So the commercial building would then become the conforming use, and the residential would ultimately become non-conforming. So no matter how you cut it on this property, there is nonconformity and will likely remain nonconformity, because trying to divide this property in any manner that would be consistent would be quite difficult, if not impossible, to achieve any sort of optimal use of the subject property. So what they're asking to do is take it from R5, zone it general commercial to bring the commercial building into conformity. And of course, in doing that, any addition to that building, any things like that would prompt buffers and all the other requirements. But when we look at the subject property as it stands, it is fairly well wooded, pretty well buffered against most of the adjacent residential properties. And this commercial building has existed there for quite a number of years. Looking at zoning, if we look at the subject property, everything that touches it is zoned R5. But taking into consideration the longstanding development of a commercial building on the subject property, as well as the immediate proximity of the C2 and M2 zone districts to the north and the south, which is consistent all along South Dixie Highway, as we all know. It's a mix of development from residential, single-family, multifamily, commercial, industrial. It's a difficult corridor to find harmony on, but here, essentially, this would create an island of C2, technically on the zoning map. But looking at the character of the area, the history of the subject property, and the proximity of that C2 zone district, this doesn't pose the same issue that we would generally associate with a spot zone or an island of commercial zoning entirely surrounded by residential. With that being said, subject property is within that suburban character area of the comprehensive plan, but very near to the interchange and industrial character areas. And doing comprehensive planning, you're planning for over 40,000 individual parcels of land across the county. And when you get into these transitional areas, there's a certain amount to be said about transitional areas. And given the proximity of this to the industrial, to the interchange, with the existing zoning, don't see that this would create any problem or issue for the surrounding residential properties, or ultimately undermine the intent of the comprehensive plan. So the staff analysis is for an approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
What is the size of the building now?
It's pretty small.
It's not very large. To right offhand, I don't have that figure in.
Is it allowed to be expanded if they want to enlarge?
They could expand it as Zone C2. Currently, they could not. So currently, if the building is vacant for more than 12 months, it can't be reoccupied. If the electricity is cut off for more than 12 months,
Is it vacant now?
I believe so.
Taking a long time.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Okay.
If a portion of it's gonna be non-conforming anyway, like, why are we doing this? Do we know?
Well, either way it goes, unless one or the other is demolished, it'll remain in nonconformity, but the petitioner seems to have a use for the property in commercial.
Okay, that makes sense. Look at it that way.
So crazy question, could they carve out the portion of the parcel to contain the building and have the easement go into the residence?
They might be able to do that. Shared access easements, not often something that we recommend. I think in a case like this, what we would be looking for is for one of those others to become, one of the, in this case, the commercial would ultimately take
Either
the
way, it's
lead.
gonna be an island.
As long as the house remains, if it's zoned commercial, the house will be non-conforming. If it remains zoned residential and the commercial building stays, it'll be in non-conformity. The potential to divide the property would, the petitioner would have to bring forth both a plat, proposed plat, and then go through the rezoning process like some of the others have had. And this was, I think, the simplest fix that the petitioner wanted to take on. And they may be able to answer further about their future plans and things like that with the property, and what their overall long-term intent is for this property. Of course, as long as that single-family dwelling is occupied and doesn't end up vacant or without power for more than 12 months, without a meter for more than 12 months, then that use can continue in nonconformity, just like previously. Had the commercial building remained occupied, we may not be having this discussion today. But since, once that vacancy exceeds 12 months, the only way to rectify that would be to zone it into conformity.
All right, thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Maria? This is-
Hi, my name is Maria de Cisneros. My address is 3408 South Dixie Highway. And my English
Pull
is
the
not...
microphone down a little bit. There you go.
Again?
I guess questions, I guess.
Sure.
You live there in the house?
There live my son.
What is are you getting the rezone done so that you can restore power to the commercial building to put it back into service?
I have electricity there. I want the commercial because I want a small business.
So you want to,
You're using the building now.
No,
but you want to expand the business in that building and still have the residents.
yes,
So the building will conform if we approve the change. And the residents will be non-conforming so long as it is inhabited or it's not vacant for more than 12 months. Does that make sense?
¿Qué me dice? Sorry. ¿Me puede
Makes sense to you?
traducir?
I don't think she understands.
Va a cambiar el edificio, va a ser comercial. La casa no puede estar vacante. No puede estar vacía. Tiene que estar ocupada. Si
Okay.
la casa no está ocupada.
Spanish speaker now?
Okay, at this time, you can use the building as a commercial piece of, okay, va a poder usar el edificio como comercial. La casa le puede seguir ocupando. Mientras esté ocupada, no hay ningún problema.
Okay.
Pero si la casa está vacía por más de 12 meses, pierde la
Oh, okay.
residencia.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Okay.
What I say is that she can use the building as a commercial as long as the residence is not vacant. If the residence becomes vacant for more than 12 months, then it becomes obsolete. So it has to be occupied for the family.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else would like to speak in favor? Anybody like to speak in opposition? Very well. We'll close the public portion on that request. And we have,
BC.
BC Managing Group, LLC. BC, are you here? Thank you. BC Managing LLC is seeking to rezone from R2 to zero lot line R4, 42 acres located at 1006 Willowdale Road Northwest. This one is in the county.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to point out, this is an issue that is currently in the county. It is up both for a hearing to rezone the subject property as well as to annex both parcels. In order to combine all this together, since we're talking about essentially one single cohesive development under one developer, I will give my presentation all together. I will mention that this will go before the city council at their next meeting, or 2 meetings. They hold 2 hearings. And if this property is annexed into the city of Dalton, then it may be the city of Dalton's case to handle a rezoning. I just mentioned that for the commissioners in order for them to decide if y'all want to stay and hear the public hearing. But essentially, what this request is proposing would be 1 rezoning and the annexation of 2 individual tracts of land. You can see the subject property is bisected down the middle by 2 long, narrow tracts of land. Each one of those is an individual parcel, and the petitioner is requesting to bring both of those properties into the city of Dalton's corporate boundary. I'm going to talk about the annexation first and see if we can get through that. Basically, this property is within a very large unincorporated county island. Anytime anyone requests to rezone inside an unincorporated county island, the recommendation is always to approve, and this case would be no different. We see no issues, and in reaching out to City of Dalton staff, no issues at all were raised in regard to the annexation of the subject property. So the recommendation from staff regarding the annexation request for the 2 parcels is a resounding approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions on annexation.
So the property will be annexed regardless of what?
Assuming the city council and mayor
Yeah.
vote to, yes.
How big is that island, Ethan? Like, where, do we have any idea where?
It's very
boundaries are?
large. It continues down and to the east, southeast. At first glance, it looked like this could create a county island, so I had to zoom very far out on the map, and you can see very clearly that there's a decent-sized county island
It's
around
like,
this area.
if
It's,
you're going north on Hag Mill Lake Road, is that city or county?
that is, all those houses that were just built on Hag Mill, we'll say on the west or the left side of the road as we see it on the map, those are county for the
Okay.
most part up in that area, or at least as it shows on their map right today. Everything you see at Canterbury Drive and north, essentially Hag Mill, all of that has been annexed into the city. So pretty much north of the subject property is annexed within the city.
And then as far as going west, Kimberly Park Drive, most of that over there's city?
That's correct.
Okay.
The island essentially goes a little bit to the west and kind of south and to the east.
Okay.
And it's again, it's probably over 100 parcels.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so the next portion of this request would be a rezoning. That rezoning would be R2, low-density, single-family residential, to R4, zero lot line residential. I know we've dealt with the R4 zone district before, but just a couple of points. The R2 zone district, if sewer is available, the smallest lot you can achieve is 15,000 square feet, roughly 1/3 of an acre per lot. The R4 zone district, the smallest lot you can achieve in that zone district is about 4,500 square feet. So this is a single-family detached only zone district made to create maximum density for single-family detached lots with extremely minimal side setback separation. Basically about 10 feet from building to building is your minimum side setback. So that's a quick rundown on the basic characteristics and differences, both single-family detached zone districts, but extremely different in terms of density and setbacks. If we look at this map before us, this is our current zoning map. Subject property right in the center, currently zoned R2 entirely.
Yeah.
Property to the west, is majority zoned R2, although undeveloped. All property to the north zoned R2 and has been developed for many years, part of the Windermere subdivision. And recently, in the last several years, the properties that you can see along Hagmill Road, which is on the east side of the subject property, but the west side of Hagmill Road, or Hagmill Road, depending on potato. You can see there that is all zoned R2, and a number of the properties that we see across the north bypass are zoned R2, with the exception of a small C1 property, which is the Pam Bevel Insurance Agency. And you'll also note the small R3 medium-density single-family tract of land. That's the city fire station. Why that's R3, I'm unsure of, but essentially, that would be a public utility, and all of the majority of the rest of adjacent property is zoned R2, with the exception of some of the property that we see on Willowdale Road. And there again, we see the commercial, we see some of that industrial. But that is the difference in zoning, so this would create a large island of the R4 zone district. You can see that there is some R7 high-density residential in this area. So that we do see higher density within the greater area. Looking at the subject property, you probably can't tell it, and you can't really see it from the road, but there is one single-family dwelling on the subject property. The rest of the property is undeveloped, wooded, forested property, and has the only real access to the subject property is along Willowdale Road. Access to the north bypass is restricted, and so since access exists on Willowdale, the existing access for the property in any future would be on Willowdale Road. Just a quick mention of that. Again, here we can see there have been a number of those properties on Hagmill that have been developed since this aerial photograph was taken, and those properties meet and generally exceed the minimum requirements in the R2 zone district. Here we're within the emerging suburban character area of the Joint Comprehensive Plan, and the intent of this character area is to encourage and promote new development. However, one of the key factors when promoting new development, or infill development in some cases, is to ensure that the character of the area that may already be established is not altered or significantly changed, particularly in a way that might create any negative impact on the existing properties that have already developed. When we look at something like R2 to R4, determining what kind of economic impact that would have, I'm not a property appraiser, I can't say for sure. If we were talking about a manufacturing facility, I would say without any doubt there would be a negative, clear impact to property values. But we can't argue that the change in lot density would be starkly different than what exists there on the majority of adjacent developed R2 properties. But in your staff analysis, I don't believe we have an image here on the screen, but in your staff analysis hard copies, you should have a topographical map. I included that because it's a key element in my analysis and ultimately my conclusion. In a lot of cases, we've seen zoning similar to this, where we have low density to higher density. Staff has been in favor. Oftentimes, topography is somewhat in our favor, either on a flat plane or in a situation where there's a certain amount of separation that we can create with the larger buffer and some mature vegetation, simply by just not disturbing what's already there or planting additional vegetation. There's some major elevations on the subject property that the petitioner may be able to talk into exactly how they plan to address that, but it would be very difficult, topographically speaking, to buffer effectively the subject property from those existing single-family larger estate properties. So that transition would be a very stark transition to go from low-density estate lots to very small zero lot line lots. And that was one of the key factors of the staff analysis, and just wanted to point that out as you look at that topo, and just to point out those lines are 10-foot elevations. So every single one of those lines is a variation, ascension or descension in elevation of 10 feet. So a lot of topography on this property. Next thing I want to mention is the utilities and public infrastructure. Reached out to the city of Dalton. Again, department heads had no comments on any issues with annexation, very in favor of annexation. There were concerns with a few factors, one being the access to Willowdale Road will certainly require some improvements to be made, both to the access where the subject property would have an entrance onto Willowdale Road, as well as potential improvements that may need to be made to the north bypass and Willowdale Road intersection. Of course, staff and the city did mention, of course, any of those improvements would have to come at the expense of the developer. Stormwater, no issues there. That can be engineered, I'm sure, and would be dealt with through the permitting phase of development. Mentioned transportation, some issues potentially with the traffic flows there with already existing congestion and signalization. The other thing to mention was fire safety. Fire chief did reach out with some concerns regarding being able to meet the radii for the cul-de-sacs. We don't have any plans yet that had measurements showing that I was able to have in time before this meeting to get that information to the city. So just want to make sure all that can be met. Of course, all that would be done through the permitting process. The only other comment was from Public Works, and that would be that this would likely spur the need for an additional garbage truck and additional staff for that, but that, of course, comes with any new development. So, but that was mentioned by Public Works. So those were the comments from the city. Department heads. Here is a proposal. I believe the petitioner the developer has brought with them updated plans. These were the plans submitted with the application and that were used in the staff analysis report. The petitioner may be able to bring those plans up and show you guys some changes that they have proposed. But here you can see they're accommodating for stormwater in this preliminary site plan, cul-de-sac type development, interconnected new city streets that would have to be built to, of course, any city standards that are in place, sidewalks, stormwater, and all the minimum other requirements for radii, curves, cul-de-sacs. But here we have the preliminary site design. Ultimately, the city, or the recommendation for this from the staff would be to recommend approval of the annexation, recommend denial of the R4 rezoning, based on the factors in the staff analysis. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'm a little confused on the sequence of the annexation and the approval. If we denied the zoning change, and we approved the annexation, then it goes to the city.
Yeah.
What happens to the option of them further putting through another request through the city?
They could. I mean,
Well,
Well, if this was denied, would there not be a time period that they could not?
A year, right?
Yeah.
that is correct. So because we have a unified zoning ordinance and not two separate zoning, if we had two separate zoning ordinances, that could be the case. However, we have a unified zoning ordinance. So if an R4 rezoning is denied, it would be 12 months before the petitioner or anyone in the future could rezone or petition to rezone the subject property.
Denied by the city.
Y'all could deny it, but the city could approve it.
Yeah, they don't have to take it.
Correct.
Correct.
yeah.
And the city, if it were to go forward from here, regardless of the recommendation from the planning commission, it will move forward to the city. Next Monday will be their first meeting of August. They will hold they usually hold 2 hearings for passing of a resolution, so it would be the 3rd Monday of August before the city would make any final decision. And they would essentially have to annex the property prior to making a motion to rezone it as a matter of procedure.
Other questions?
So regardless of what happens, it's a unified zoning. We approve the annexation, denied the zoning. The city still have to wait 1 year.
No.
Well, if it's unified
Well,
planning,
The city would get to vote on it at their next city council
Yeah,
meeting.
the governing authority would then vote.
well,
But would that be the county or the city?
then the so-called unified, or unified zoning, it doesn't exist.
The
I mean,
Board of Commissioners could simply table it at their second, or their August meeting. They can make a motion to table to wait and see if the city is going to annex the property. If the city were not annexing the property, then that would revert back to the commissioners at their September Board of Commissioners meeting and where they would vote on the rezoning. If it goes to the city, then the city will hear it next Monday, again, the third Monday of August, and would likely make a decision.
so
that
regardless of
second
what we
meeting.
do here, the city is gonna make the decision.
Or you wait till the county tables the annexation.
Well, no, we don't need the table.
No, the county does.
No.
And we've already talked to our county attorney, that's exactly what we'll do, Ethan.
Well, what is that gains?
Postpone it, waiting on their
Kicking the
annexation.
can down
We
the
just make a
city.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. We're all good here? Ethan, thank you.
Thank you.
Complicated. All right, BC, you're up.
Thank you. Mike Price at MAP Engineers, 7380 Applegate Lane, Chattanooga, Tennessee, representing BC Management. Let me also state that he has good credit, so shouldn't be any concerns there. If it's all right, I'd like to pass out the proposed plan as it now exists. So on the screen, you have what currently the aerial shows in terms of the development patterns out in this area. And what you will notice is to the west and to the south is heavy industrial, and we also have an apartment development that is
I'm not
directly.
gonna hold up until everybody gets theirs, because everybody's following that.
Okay.
Do you have one more by chance?
I do.
Oh, right.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, so what are we looking at the screen?
So on the screen, this is an area map and, that was shot, that we pulled off of Google Earth. And what you see is your heavy industrial to the west, heavy industrial to the south. And we also have an apartment complex that's right on the southwest corner of the property. And you have a fire station that's on the east side. And then, Ethan, if you don't mind going to the future zoning map. Thank you. So when you look at this map, what this really indicates is that the intent long-term is that the property all to the west of us is going to go industrial, or at least that's the plan that would occur. And of course, everything to the south of us. So if you really look at it, the entire west, south, southeast, and then on the east side, you've got roughly a third of that property is bounded by the fire station. So what we looked at then is to try to figure out what was an appropriate zone. As Ethan mentioned, there is topography issues, and we certainly took that into consideration. Ethan, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the plan that was submitted to staff. Okay, and I've got a little pointer here, and hopefully people can, they may not have enough battery juice. All right, to the north there, backing up to the Willowdale subdivision, you will see a cul-de-sac and some lots that back up to that, and then ponds to the east and ponds to the west. We put that plan together, submitted it. There were some concerned residents that wanted to have a meeting. There was actually been 2 meetings. I was not present at the first, as I got my schedule a little crossed ways. Was at the second. I realized that not everyone from the Willowdale subdivision was at that meeting. Windermere, excuse me, Windermere. And so realized not everybody was there, but out of the meeting, the 2 meetings, this is what came about. We heard a great concern as it related to our development backing up to those residents to our north. So we pivoted our plan. And if you look at the new plan, what you will see is we put a community lot backing up to Windermere. The minimum depth of that community lot is 180 feet. So there's 180 feet where no homes, it will be a community lot owned and maintained by the HOA between the nearest lot line of our development to the Windermere subdivision lot lines, 180 feet. We then proposed 20 feet, a minimum, adjacent to Windermere to be undisturbed, so we'll leave that existing vegetation in place. We then proposed a 20-foot buffer then adjacent to that, where we would plant evergreen trees. We will then leave as many trees as we can within that 180 feet, realizing that I still have got to meet stormwater management requirements. So I have ponds that are to either side. But once we get finished, we'll plant those areas as well. So what I looked at is, in regarding this plan, is how can we buff it? Ethan's correct in that what we're doing is we're changing the lot size roughly by a third of the size of what is currently required. So how do we ameliorate that? How do we protect the properties that are most affected? We found that the way to do that was to create a community lot, create the buffering, step back so far away so that, you know, you can't even hear a person that would be talking in their backyard or the subdivision, existing subdivision's backyard. So we're looking at doing something that we think is very appropriate and addresses the issue as it relates to that subdivision, to that development.
Question.
Yes.
So the topography of the lots was brought up earlier. The buffer that you mentioned, I'm assuming that the lots in Windermere have a higher elevation than the lots that you'll be developing. Is that correct?
It varies. So in the center section where the previous cul-de-sac was shown, they're actually pretty close in elevation till we get to the property line, and then they climb. The ponds on either side, the elevations drop off. That's why we would build up berms on the lower end to be able to detain the water.
Kind of where I'm going with that is from a sight line, from a visual, you know, you've got a property that sits here and developed property here with the buffer. It doesn't have the same effect that the two properties that share elevation would have with the buffer. I guess what I'm asking is that buffer really provide a true buffer to the folks to the north if the elevations are significantly different?
If we were talking that these homes are backing up 30, 40 feet away, I'd be 100% on board with what you're saying. But 180 feet,
And I
that's,
don't know, I'm just asking.
yeah, no, that's 60 yards, plus we're leaving existing trees, we're planting new evergreen trees. We'll plant trees on our side of the buffer, if you will, the community lot. So it will provide a pretty effective screening, absolutely. Will you not be able to see the houses? Not in year 1. Year 5, you're probably gonna be pretty screened back at that point. Because we're gonna pick evergreens that are fast growing, something like cryptomerias, giant green arborvitaes. There's a couple of others that you can go with that are very good, fast growing, but hardy trees, survive the climate. And we think that that would be providing, again, with 180 feet. If you developed it right now as R4, so there's two sisters who own the property. They are motivated to sell. They do not want to keep this property. If it develops as R4, your alternative is this. Someone can go in, develop as R4, and no conditions. So which is better? In my mind, going with the R2, going with this increased setback and buffer is far better at the end of the day for the Windermere subdivision than what could happen. Because again, somebody is going to buy this.
It's R2 now.
It's R4. Yeah.
Matches the zoning of Windermere.
Sorry, getting the 2s and the 4s mixed up. But at the end of the day, someone's going to come in and they're going to develop it. And they're not going to come in and rezone it if this gets turned down, most likely. They're going to stick with the condition of whatever the current zoning is. And when they do, I don't think they're going to be coming in and offering any conditions because they won't be motivated to. We are.
Current zoning is R2, so they probably wouldn't have a problem with R2. The Windermere people probably would not have a big problem with R2, so I'm a little confused.
Except what's going to happen is they'll back those houses right up next to that subdivision. That's a totally different animal.
I got a totally different lot size also, though.
It is a lot size, you're right, but they'll be backing up where they'll be sitting 30 feet off the property line in the rear versus sitting some 200 feet off the property line today with what we're proposing.
Who is the intended build-out
I was
gonna be? Who's gonna do the build-out?
So the plan is, at this point, D.R. Horton would be the one that are looking at buying it out. So that's where we then work to the next phase, which is we put together a list of conditions. And there's 10 conditions that we put in through here. Let me just sort of summarize what some of that really boils down to. If you look at the building setbacks, the minimum lot width that we're proposing is not what the current zone, or excuse me, what the proposed zone that we're asking for is. What we're saying is that we're gonna come in and our minimum lot width in this proposed R4 will be 52 feet. We'll set our minimum front setback at 25 feet, and currently, even in the current R2 says 25 feet, so we're meeting the same setback there. The side setback would be 6 feet, not 0. So 12 feet between houses. I get it, that's closer than what people in Windermere currently enjoy, but that's what we're proposing, is not go to 0. And the last is we would have a 20-foot setback, which even exceeds the current zoning of R2 in the rear. So we're actually increasing on several different levels in terms of what the zoning requirements are. We're willing to do that. We are also minimizing, the minimum house square footage would be 1,500 square feet. Even if you look at your current zone, it says that your minimum square footage is 1,200 square feet. So we're actually going to be building bigger houses than what the minimums are. We are also looking at coming in through here, and we will be having 25%, a minimum of 25% of this property will be community lots, open space. The price point of these homes will be high 300s to mid 450s. We put a requirement that all the homes have to be either hardy, brick, or stone. The only vinyl that can be here will be accents, soffits, fascia, and any architectural components that would be accent. But otherwise, you're getting not vinyl siding houses. This is, again, we're looking at trying to up the game, so to speak, in terms of what this is going to be in through here. When Windermere subdivision was built, it was a different age. We now went through COVID, we went through the Great Recession, and so as a dad who has 3 children, I find my children find it extremely difficult to find a place to buy,
How is this helping that?
because we're adding housing to the market.
At $250 a square foot?
Yes, and it's a crazy number. It's a number I never would have thought that we would see. But if we don't add housing, it's going to get worse, not better. So we need the housing. My kids need housing. Your kids probably are facing some of the same things that mine are. So again, I took into account if the shoe was on the other foot, and I lived in this subdivision, and what's coming here, what would I want to see? That's why I put this plan together, that it would, again, provide proper screening to address the issues that Ethan brought up. They're valid issues. You don't want to put dissimilar uses next to each other, because then you can make the argument that, hey, you're going to hurt the value of these properties. But if you put enough screening and buffering, I've seen it where multiple developments, if they give enough screening, enough trees, enough landscaping, and you can't really see what's on the other side of the trees, it's like it doesn't exist.
What would you say, what's the average lot size that you're projecting for this?
I think our minimum lot size that we have is 5,700 square feet.
About 40% of the minimum R2 size,
Yes.
roughly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's, R3 is 7,500. So this is not going to be an R3 size. I was just wondering if it was going to get closer to the R3 size. Because the house size is going to be 1,500 square feet, which is larger than required for the minimum for a 0 lot line for R4. So just looking at that.
Yeah, and even R3 only has 1,000 square foot minimum size for the house.
So, I mean, I guess where my head's at is, why would you not cut down your dirt work leave it R2, go with a bigger lot size, build the same square footage houses, still get the same cost per square foot.
Just lose lots.
You
maps.
lose lots, I understand, but you're not having to do quite as much dirt work to be able to maximize the number of lots.
The problem is with the topography is once you touch it, it's like the tar baby, you can't get away from it. And so it forces you to really grade the entire site to make it work. It's one of those that you just can't go in halfway or try to just, I mean, some of these are basement lots. Typically, they don't like basement lots, but we're doing basement lots just for that very reason, to try to minimize the grading. You also got to balance the site in an ideal scenario, which we're doing, so that we're not hauling dirt off. So again, we looked at a situation where it's a difficult terrain, a difficult site. We have issues that we needed to address. We did so. And we think that this plan and the screening that we're doing has shown an effort on, I think, the developer's part to be willing to do the things that would be right by their neighbors. And I don't know how many 180-foot buffers you see. I don't see them, and I've been doing this 41 years. I don't see them very often, if ever. So we didn't try to go in with a 20-foot buffer or a 40-foot buffer. We said, you know what? If we really eliminate that cul-de-sac, take those lots out, we think that we can do a better job of screening against our neighbors and providing what I heard from those that were there at the meeting and what was communicated to me. So that's why we looked at doing those changes. We also were looking at increasing the turn lane on Willowdale Road. We've been out there, we've observed the traffic. You've got a lot of 2 to 3 p.m. when some of the shifts let out that back up. We'll increase that turn lane, which should help on the timing of people getting able onto the bypass. Because what I saw is you didn't have enough stacking room, and when the light turns, they aren't able to get through that intersection. By increasing that stacking lane width, we'll be able to, or length, we'll be able to let that traffic flow much, much better. We've also worked with the staff in terms of providing sufficient sight distance warning, because we're a little shy if we look on one side as you come into the development, but we can do an actuated warning signal that would be pretty simple, that would alert both the drivers that would be pulling out as well as those on Willowdale Road. We recognize that we may have to do some work on the bypass as well. That's still up in the air once, subject to, if we get to approvals, we will do those studies and figure that out. I guess in summation, we just think that, again, it's a site, when you look at the future development zoning of where it's headed and where we are, it's really the perfect transition as long as you put the proper buffering in there. So if there's any questions, happy to answer those.
So looking at the plan, it looks like you have the lane widening coming off of the bypass.
At this point, we show what's currently existing on the bypass, not doing any improvements at this point on the bypass.
Right, but coming out of the subdivision and from the way I got this oriented, heading towards the bypass, coming out of the subdivision, going up Willowdale.
We would on Willowdale, yes, sir.
Right, but it doesn't really look like we're doing much as far as widening that, so we'd still have real heavy density coming out at the even 5 o'clock, everything's backing up on Sugar.
Does this drawing show the proposed changes on the road?
It shows it on Willowdale, which basically we've about, not quite, but almost doubled the length of that turn lane that comes onto the bypass off Willowdale.
I don't think it was a widening of the lane, it was a lengthening of the lane, is that correct?
Well, but we had to widen to our side in order to achieve that. And then we also then put in a decel lane, which required us to do even further widening on our side. But basically, we're leaving, at the end of the day, if you look at it, we're leaving the south side of Willowdale alone and making all the necessary improvements to our side.
So there wouldn't really be much relief heading towards the bypass. Coming off of the bypass to the subdivision would be all right.
Well, again, you're increasing the stacking depth that you're able to achieve on the turn lane. on the left turn lane heading out. We didn't do anything to the right turn lane. What we did see, though, is, or what I observed, is that sometimes when those cars are making that left turn and they're wanting to go left, they'll park their cars basically until that light turns, preventing people from making the right turn. By adding the additional stacking room in through here, that should lighten up that ability and allow people to make that right turn moving forward.
Okay. Then you talked about balancing the site. Do you know roughly what the elevation changes would be in the topography?
I didn't bring the plan with me. We're roughly, it's about 140,000 yards of dirt to be moved to balance it.
Okay, so looking at this, the largest, where you are at 890, as far as the highest elevation of your plan is?
That's
how much
current.
That's gonna drop?
We would be down to, in some areas, probably cutting 20, 25 feet at the highest points in through there.
Okay, so that, in theory, would change it to about 870.
Or 850.
So you're talking about 40 feet.
In some areas, depending again where you are on the site, but essentially, we're gonna be taking that knoll, dropping it down, moving the dirt, if you will, over there on between lots 4 and 12, and putting a slope that works its way down to that pond that is located on the eastern side.
Okay, then from the west of the topography, where you're gonna be doing any type of retaining wall for cutting along there?
There's a few short walls that we have on the western side. I think the highest wall was maybe be 6 feet, maybe 8 at the worst, but very short distances, just to make certain that we were able to tie the grades back together on the western side. In many areas on the western side, we actually get right back to grade. And we either achieve that by having a basement lot, or if we need to, we could make it an at-grade lot. So we sort of, again, we took advantage of the basements by picking up that additional 10 feet to figure out how to make certain that by the time we got back to the lot line, we were at grade, and tried to avoid those walls.
Okay. Let's see. Have you seen the proposed home plans from D.R. Horton?
I have seen, there was a layout, or not a layout, there was a presentation board that was shown to some of the homeowners. I don't think it was left with them, but most of them were, they were accented enough that it was not your, and again, this is not meant as a disparaging mark to D.R. Horton or any other building. They weren't Cracker Jack boxes at the end of the day. They had elements, and we've even codified that in regards to the type, how they would be built on item number 3 in the conditions, where we talk about that you have to break up the type of consistency in what these houses look like. And that doesn't mean that you simply go in and mirror image these two lots side by side to come up with a different type of architectural look from the outside. You have to break these up, go with different floor plans, different looks, so that it has uniformity, but it also has enough diversity in it that it looks like, yeah, okay, this is not all the same, it's not all cookie cutter. That's what we did not want to do, is come in with a cookie cutter type development. At the end of the day, I knew that y'all were most likely coming, when I came up here, when this day came, and I knew when it was coming, and I'm gonna be the only one with opposition tonight, and I get it, but I wanted to come in and be able to give you, hopefully, a footprint, an idea of not doing it the same old way. If people can come in and take 25% of their land and make it community space, if they can do these type buffering, if they'll do these type of conditions, then why not let that type development come forward? If it was the old, same old that you've seen, I get it, turn it down.
Do you have any idea of D.R. Horton's timeline for taking down lots, building, what their build-out timeframe would look like?
I would think that what we'd be looking at would be, if everything were to move forward, and annexation, city approvals, that we would be looking at construction beginning spring of '27. You would then see going vertical somewhere around the end of '27, and about a 3.5 year build-out period would be my guess.
All right, on the plans, did they actually have overhangs? Because there was one development, D.R. Horton up off of Cleveland Highway. I think it may be Fox Hollow.
Fox Hollow. Mhm.
And driving through there,
That's the Cracker Jack box in my mind without having overhangs.
Leading into what I was gonna ask, what brand or what series of homes is D.R. Horton gonna be building? I know there's 4 different ones, Express, Traditional, Freedom, and Emerald.
And I don't know how to answer that question. I know that when I looked at it, there wasn't any of those that didn't have overhangs and not a 6-inch overhang, right? I mean, you're looking at a minimum of a foot overhang, I think is what I saw pretty much on all those, which is 12 to 18 inches is pretty standard, I would think, out of that. So, and again, it's trying to show a willingness to do something a little different, a little nicer, something that meets the standards of this community. And certainly we know with the neighbors that we have to the north, we couldn't come in with something that was going to be what has been done in the past.
right? And then I guess my last one, just as far as the price point, because it definitely seems high, in my opinion, for the area. And I know you talked about, wanting your kids to have a place, but from high to mid-450s, I believe that is kind of steep for the industry that we have here.
And I understand that, but I can, and again, they have horsepower I'll never be able to understand. They are extremely high on this site, and they believe that that is exactly, especially, they wouldn't have agreed to all these conditions if they thought that they couldn't meet that sort of price point and sell them. So let's just, for sake of discussion, say they're wrong. Okay, you still got to build this type of development, regardless if it's D.R. Horton or anybody else. So we've shown a standard that has to be met, and these are codified in writing. And if they're passed as conditions, if the next guy wants to come in, he's got to do this, or he's got to try to go back and change it, which I doubt would ever occur. Because once you put something like this in writing, you really can't undo it, is what my experience has taught me.
Right. And as far as the overall community, property taxes have been a real hot topic as of late. And with the 450s driving up the median price of homes, that's going to have a ripple effect throughout everyone else's property taxes, so.
I agree, and I understand that, but the alternative would be is, do you want to build starter homes, which to me has the exact opposite effect that you want. I would rather my property values be going up and not going down. I don't like the fact that I get taxed more, but I certainly don't want it going down. I want it going up.
Can I ask you about these conditions?
Yes, sir?
Can we add a condition that the buffer is created, takes a priority, instead of just getting around to it at the end of the development?
So, having sat on the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Planning Commission for 7 years, this body can do whatever you see fit. So, yes, sir, you can absolutely make that a condition.
That condition.
Yeah. And again, the idea is not to show a buffer for the sake of a buffer. It's to create a buffer, to create that screening. It's not intended, matter of fact, one of the things that I would do is, if this passes and work begins next year, they're gonna be planting it in December of next year, the trees. I don't wanna plant them in July. I wanna give them the best opportunity to live, and you can even put conditions on there of survivability rates. I mean, I didn't wanna get that myopic, but at the end of the day, we can go there. We want to be a good neighbor. I want to be the engineer that came in and came up with a plan at the end of the day that if you hear my name again, you don't curse me, right? And that's something I learned from my dad, because he was a general contractor and he would come home and fuss about architects. So I made up my mind at a young age that when they were sitting around the dinner table, I did not want my name used in that sort of manner that my dad sometimes did with who he dealt with. So I think this hopefully is an attempt, and y'all hopefully see that that's the case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? All right, who would like to speak in opposition? See the hand in the back?
Fill out the forms.
I'm sorry, do I get Okay. Hey, good evening. My name is Becky Ferguson. I live at 1811 Canterbury Drive here in Dalton. And I live in the subdivision, the Windermere subdivision, and my property is directly adjacent to this proposed property development. Several impacted residents met and in general tend to be opposed to the proposed rezoning, and I would like to present numerous concerns shared by my neighbors regarding the potential change. The first is zoning consistency. The subject property is currently zoned R2, low-density, single-family residential, which aligns with already established residential areas to the south along Hag Mill and to the east, the Windermere subdivision. I believe it might be the north, but the point is it's Windermere. And the rezoning request to approve the zero lot line R4 residential is not consistent with surrounding and established residential areas. We are also concerned about the impact to property values. We know we don't have a crystal ball, but there are concerns that if the rezoning is approved, the property values will directly affect those homes along Canterbury and Hag Mill and Windermere subdivision as a whole. We also believe the current zoning of the subject property already has a reasonable economic use as it is currently zoned as R2. Next one, address the infrastructure concerns, mainly being the traffic concerns on the bypass. We understand that a traffic study was conducted, but it was specifically for the proposed intersection where the development meets Willowdale. We have a request for a new traffic study to determine how the increased traffic flow on and off of Willowdale Road would impact traffic flow on the bypass. This area is already congested and traffic routinely backs up west of Willowdale Road with insufficient distance to access Willowdale Road. Next are environmental concerns, noise pollution, light pollution, and the destruction of green space. In order to develop this zero lot line R4 residential area, the majority, if not all, of the green space would be removed. These tree canopies and underbrush within these approximate 42 acres currently act as a noise barrier and light shield for our developments to the interstate along I-75 and exit 336, as well as the Dalton bypass. This natural area serves as a barrier to the businesses in that area, including gas stations, restaurants, and retail stores. If rezoning is approved, these barriers are eliminated. We also want to discuss the ecosystem. We would like to request an assessment from the Georgia Department of Natural Resources to determine the impact of R4 zero lot line development to existing wildlife and future conservation. The area is home to numerous wildlife, including owls and hawks, and the box turtles, monarch butterflies, and other songbirds. Also, we would like to know the viable plan to mitigate the herd of deer that live in the space. Displacement may result in forcing the deer either into our neighborhoods or pushing out onto nearby roads, such as the bypass, resulting in increased deer vehicle collisions and property damage. In conclusion, we hope the board considers our request for opposing the zone change based on zoning consistency, impact to property values of existing developments, trying to maintain our neighborhood's longstanding character, and the impact of rezoning on infrastructure and the environment. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else who'd like to speak in opposition? Very well.
How many here are in opposition?
Okay, we just heard your applause, but if you could raise your hand, all those in opposition. Okay, thank you. Just to be fair, can you raise your hand? Who is in favor? 2. Thank you. Developer, do you have any rebuttal?
The only thing constant in life is change. And the only thing that about change is, we all hate it. So I say that not to be flippant, but to point out the fact that there is change coming to this property someday and soon. The sisters have determined that they no longer want the property, they want to sell it. And so, again, it's not meant as a threat, it's simply pointing out fact of what I've seen over the years, is that you're better off oftentimes dancing with the devil you know than taking a chance on the one you don't. So that's why we looked at putting in the screening that we did against Windermere, excuse me. We looked at that because of the fact that if I was sitting there, I'd want some sort of buffer. When you look at the future land use, it shows industrial is going to hug right up against us on the west side. So again, I think when you look at the land use plan and now with how we're screening it and what we're doing, I think we're addressing that buffer, again, 180 feet. I don't know that I've ever seen one as large as that, and especially one that we would vegetate. We will be doing an additional traffic study. We know that we have to get with GDOT as it relates to the bypass, and we'll do that. There was a discussion mentioned earlier about property values. I'm no realtor. I don't claim to be a realtor. But having done subdivisions now for these many years, and if I counted up the number of lots that I have done the design for, probably would be close to 20,000 lots in my career. And I've seen where there are dissimilar zones such as this that abut up to one another. My experience has taught me that as long as you buffer them properly, it does not negatively affect the property values. It's when they are not buffered properly, when they are not screened off from each other the way that they should be, so that when you have those homes that are right up next to them and there is no screen, there's no ability to not hear the kids in the next door or the next neighborhood over, that's when it starts hurting you. I think with what we're doing, again, it's change. I get it. It's not going to make it popular, but change is coming. I think this is the better change in my mind.
I'd like to ask a follow-up question, if you don't mind, just
Sure.
strictly based on that comment that you just made about screening and buffering and all that. I don't see any screening or buffering when you look at your plat between lots 33 and 26. Everybody's talking about Windermere, but we also have to remember that this aerial that you're showing, these lots have been developed.
Yes.
Those are $500,000 homes right there.
Yes. And
So, and based on what I can see, there is zero buffering running up to those. What can be done to change that?
okay, there's a couple things there. All of those homes in through there sit somewhere between 12 to 16 feet below us. So what will happen is we're cutting that area down. Our house then sits back at least 20, 25 feet from that area. So in other words, if I'm looking up, you're going to see off the top of that. We can plant a row of trees there along the top, plant evergreens. And given that height, I'd have to cut a cross section to show that, but I think we can do enough screening in through there so as to protect those homes as well. I didn't show it on here because I ran out of time, honestly. But I think you bring up an excellent point, and it's one that I intended to address later, but this is a great time to bring that up. But yes, a row of evergreens in through there would, I think, provide that screening. Plus, those existing lots are about 150 feet deep, and their topography jumps up as it comes towards us. And what I've seen that they've done is they've left that vegetation in that back 30 feet, 40 feet, I'll call it. So given that they leave their vegetation, we plant similar to what we're talking about here. I think that would provide us screening, and the fact that we sit back off of the top elevation with where we would be.
I got a question. Maybe
Can,
this is
real
Bob.
quick, Chris, should we add that to this rezoning request proposed conditions?
If,
I mean, Brad's comment, I mean, is that something that, you know, I think if that's something that you think ought to have happen, then I think we ought to look at adding that also.
We'll add to it.
Yeah, okay, excuse me, Chris, I
Oh, no, you're
apologize.
good. This is a question, I guess, for Bob or maybe Gene. kind of specific to the architectural controls and the things that were outlined in what he gave us, you know, the different plans, no two lots have homes that are identical next to each other, vinyl only used for soffit, and all of these comments that are good that were made. So once the dirt's moved, once construction starts, who would monitor that? Because, you know, once that kind of starts and they start building houses and things, is it, not that you wouldn't, I'm
No, no.
speaking for D.R. Horton. What ensures that what they're saying now would be the end product and when it actually comes to that point?
The certificate of occupancy.
That's what I was gonna
Look,
say.
I'm not insinuating you wouldn't.
No, but.
You're not D.R. Horton.
No, but you're exactly right, and that's part of the reason we're asking for the annexation, because our understanding is the county doesn't have that enforcement officer that can make certain that these conditions are met, but the city does, as I understand it.
Well, you had to have a certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, that's unified now, the building inspection process, so.
Yeah, it's unified. City county.
would also make sure that that's being done, obviously.
Okay. So I guess when a building permit is issued, I'm trying to think this down the road here. Mike, your office, y'all get the plans, building permits issued. You don't receive a scope of work, quality of finishes, anything like that normally, do you? So how then would we monitor it?
We can, I mean, we do have some PUDs that we do that, one on Hamilton Street.
Yeah.
Patterson, that we do that, but as normally, we don't, but typically on a subdivision like this, they would supply all those plans up front. And we would review them, and then we would know what plan is going on.
So as far as developing, because I built for a little bit, you had talked about HOA, so would there be HOA covenants and restrictions guiding that prior to breaking ground?
There would, and if you wanted to make that a condition, that those be reviewed by planning or whatever, city attorney, whatever the case may be, prior to them being recorded, we're certainly fine for that review. Again, we want to be open throughout the entire process.
Then I guess, last question, as far as with the buffers and everything else, what would the home density be if it remained R2? Like modifying your plan, what would you still be able to get in there with R2?
So that's sort of one of those loaded questions. If you just simply take the entire acreage and divide by 15,000, that's a number. It's not a real-world number, right? So what we came up with is a real-world plan based upon this. If you did what you're talking about, you probably would knock the number down to 45, realistically.
More than half.
Oh, yes, it would definitely be more than half, yes,
But
sir.
as the zoning sits presently, no accelerated buffers, no enhancements of the thing, you could just build and hit the minimums and go with it.
You could.
As it sits.
Right. And that's again, why we came in with our plan, because I knew if I didn't, I wouldn't stand a chance sitting up here this evening.
Okay, so
And
can we back up real quickly? Just, you mentioned the HOA conditions be approved, and you talked about having it done by the city attorney or having it done by somebody. To lock that down, who should do that? Is that something, is that you, Mike? Is that? Okay. So then those would come to who to make sure that that's getting done in accordance with the HOA? That's the HOA's responsibility? Okay.
No, to be the developer.
The developer, yeah.
Initially,
Yeah, the developer would manage it while the homes were being built out, and then at some point, they hand the HOA over to the residents. But during the build-out, it would fall on the developer.
Yeah, the developer,
years from now, you hope that the HOA has been quality managed and that everybody's still doing
Okay.
what they say they're gonna do, and, you know, and if not, you've gotta,
Yeah. Okay.
and then.
you know what you get.
Further questions?
Just in
Go ahead.
close, if there are any, regardless of how the vote goes this evening, I'll be out in the lobby and happy to talk with the residents who may have questions at the end of the day on this.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm not sure that anything new came up, so we can close this. We do have the one we need to jump back to.
Yep.
Make sure I get it right. We're jumping back to item A. Dennis and Melissa Flowers, are you here now? Because, Mr. Flowers, okay. Seeking to rezone, well, this is the R5 one, right? 17.08 acres at 437 Cahata Beaver Dale Road?
Yes.
Okay. Ethan? This one is back in the county?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this was just to realign the subject property's boundaries and shift the GA and R5 zone district. Here's what we see currently. If we flip to this plat, stated earlier, this would be their final, the result that they're seeking, with a small piece of property, which is roughly 2 acres in size, would be zoned R5. That larger 15-acre tract would remain zoned GA. So this is just a small shift in property lines and a small shift in zone districts. Both zone districts already exist on the property, and this would be a very minimal change that, at the end of the day, would not really alter the character of the property at all from a visual standpoint or a character standpoint. Recommendation to approve from the staff. Happy to answer any questions.
You mentioned when we talked about this at the very beginning, that it was creating a flag lot, but I guess in essence, the flag lot's already there, so there's no need to have to reapprove a survey or anything like that, is there?
Well, that would come before the planning commission, separate from the rezoning. Any flag lot would have to be approved by the planning commission.
I guess that's what I was thinking, knock out 2 birds with 1 stone kind of thing, be done.
It's not a final plat, though, is it?
What was that?
Is it not a final plat? Is this final?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
This is the final plat?
This is the plat they submitted for it, so this is set up as a final plat, but it doesn't have all the signatures on the one on the screen.
Doesn't-
Gene, have we got signatures on this?
Oh, it doesn't have the signatures.
We got the signatures, everything is
So,
good.
throw it back.
Right.
All right. Commissioners, no questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir? Any
Yes, sir.
further comments? Your name and address, please.
Dennis Flowers. I live in 461 Tunnel Hill, Georgia, Sunnyside Drive.
Okay. Any comments, additions?
No, just that we're willing to cooperate with what needs to be done.
Okay. Any questions? All right, we don't have any questions, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody like to speak in favor? Anybody like to speak in opposition? So we will move on. The commissioners, this is the end of the county portion of this meeting. They will be leaving us. We've talked about the annexation before. Do we need to address it?
Just need to make a recommendation, and then it'll take care of itself.
Okay, so I don't need to bring it up here. We can just take it into deliberation. Okay. Okay, so that does close the public portion of this meeting. We will go into deliberations. You are welcome to listen in, but you won't be able to partake in anything here.
Mr. Chairman, we have the officers
before this? Okay, we have an annual officers election. Who's up?
You want to stay there?
Are you running again, Jim?
I'll do it if nobody wants it.
So move.
Second.
Congratulations.
All right. Brad makes a motion to maintain same officers. Steve seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Come on. Oh, opposed. Come on.
Vice Chair, nominate Chris.
I thought we were going to stay in the same positions, or
Yeah,
It's fine.
I thought that's what we were voting for. Okay.
good.
My
Same-
mo- my
same
motion-
officers.
My motion for both.
Motion for both. So that's me and Chris.
Congratulations.
All right. So let's go back through the numbers. We might as well jump to A. Can we do that?
Yep.
Any discussion, motions?
Take a motion, we approve it?
Wait,
For flowers?
for flowers,
Flowers.
item A, the first
Yeah.
one? Over here. Motion is,
Make a motion to approve?
Steve makes a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Brad seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next one is Kenneth Cooper, and that's one of 229 acres. And that's, we need to talk about a special use permit being attached to it, correct?
I move that we approve with the condition that the special use permit that is currently attached to the property survives to the new rezoning.
Okay. Got that? Chris, second. Octavio seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Chrissy Klein was a no-show.
It's tabled.
Tracy Baldridge, this one is a 1 acre, 2721 Deep Springs, or
Vote to be approved.
Octavio makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Steve seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes
We need
have
to
it.
make sure we take the 2771 off of that, Ethan.
I never did understand that.
Yeah. The
So it's-
2771 they said wasn't accurate, so.
So it's 198 Cosby?
No, it's on Deep Springs Road, but it's just not that address, correct?
It doesn't have a road number.
Yes.
2771 is Creasy's across the street.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Next one is Dalton Auction Company, 2.6 acres on Lucille Drive to do a extrusion operation.
Vote to be approved.
Octavio makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Chris seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Maria de Cisneros, this one is on South Dixie Highway, 2 acres, 2.13 acres, to bring it into commercial conformity. That's the one that has a house on it. Motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Octavia makes a motion, Steve seconds to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, the fun part. BC Managing Willowdale.
You want to do the
Discussion.
annexation first?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to approve the
Make-
annexation
Okay.
into city limits of Dalton.
Second.
okay, Brad makes a motion, Chris seconds to make a motion to approve the annexation into the city of Dalton on the agenda that is shown as items H and I. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Chris?
Chris. Brad and Chris. All right, backing it up. Biggest issue was buffers and natural disruption. Comments? Positions?
I don't think I can get there.
You don't think you can get there?
I just don't.
Not even with all, not even with
I mean,
conditions?
I definitely appreciate the efforts that they've gone to put all the buffering and lot sizes and all that into place, but, you know, we've said it, at least I've said it over and over again, we need more R2 zoning, we need more houses that fit into that, and we need less zero lot line, and I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get there just for that reason. Just hearing everybody in the community talk, you know, it's, I just don't know that I'm gonna get there.
Dave, comments? You don't have to.
I mean, it is a really good effort, and, you know, the buffers and everything else are really appreciative, and, but just the sheer density of it for that area, and, you know, zero lot line, you know, potential for that, because, I mean, ultimately, this is proposed, so once the zoning is changed, hey, you know, this modification, that modification, and, you know, so I really kind of can't get there, but.
What's the motion?
All right. Wait. Steve, you
You're
gotta
making a
come to-
motion, Octavio?
Who is the motion?
No,
No,
he's
I-
just saying you
We're
can't
just
get
talking
there.
Oh, can't get there.
Or leaning off the fence, so.
Make a motion.
Well, I think as you're looking at it, I know we need the housing, and I hear everything. I agree it was a great proposal. I'm going to vote on it when we get to vote on it.
Okay. You're gonna vote on it when we vote on it?
You know, I normally talk a lot when we get to this part.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm very torn, simply because I appreciate the effort that was made to put a quality product and do something different than what has been done and is continuing to be done. However, the density is a concern, and I'll just vote when we vote, but
Well, somebody need to make a motion.
Motion to disapprove.
Make a mo.
Make a
Dave
motion
makes a motion to disapprove,
to not approve,
not
Deny.
to deny.
to deny.
Deny?
Yeah. Second?
Steve seconds, all in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
That's 5 denials. Very good. So be it.
Plats?
Plats? No plats?
Yeah, we've got some.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is, we're just going to be reviewing some plats now. We will pass our recommendations on to the county and/or the city.
Maybe. You want the clicker, you want me to run?
Okay, guys. First one we're gonna look at is Wilson, should be on the top. This is their aerial, you should be able to see it on your monitors. It's a piece of property off of Wilson Road in the northeastern part of the county. Zoned agricultural. They're trying to divide their property into 3 lots. This is an estate. The first 2 lots on the north, they both exceed 9 acres. But as you can see, they also exceed the 4-to-1 maximum ratio that we allow for lot sizes. Has to come to the planning commission for approval. The floodplain goes through the middle of this property, so really the buildable area
Would be okay.
would meet that 4-to-1 ratio if you're looking at buildable area for these lots. But at any rate, it is an estate. They're asking for your approval to allow these first 2 lots to go to family members. The bottom lot is already owned by one family.
I move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Chris seconds, Octavio first. Move to approve, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? There you go. Is it just peel them off here?
When I first started
The
looking
next
at
one is a
why are we,
preliminary
why
plat.
are they in this?
We've got, hey, Tony. Tony and Jake Bearden are here. Tony is the developer of this property, and Jake is one of the engineers. This property is on Upper Barnell Road on the north end of the county, adjacent to Highland Forest. It is currently zoned R2. This is a preliminary plat. What you just exactly said that you wanted was a subdivision, it was R2 lots. Lot size minimum in R2 is 15,000 square feet. This is on public
On
sewer.
sewer, yeah.
Building new roads. There are 86 lots in this proposed subdivision. It's been looked at by everybody. Road engineer, Dalton Utilities, Stormwater, Fire Department, everybody has given their initial approval to this design.
So going up Cleveland Highway, turn left at the little gas station before McGoey Chapel, cornfield, there on the left.
Say that again, where are we at?
Go up Cleveland Highway instead of, you know, when McGoey Chapel comes in, Cleveland
Okay,
Highway.
yeah,
and
yeah.
There's a little mom and pop gas station.
Okay, yeah.
Turn left there, you know, that runs you over to Country Way or whatever. This would be on the right-hand side as you close, it's on, closer to the Highland Forest side.
I got you, okay.
Kind of backs up to the pond, Highland Forest Pond.
And it's adjacent to the east to another subdivision.
Big old deer hideout.
That's the drainage ditch come out of the pond that's
Yeah.
coming in on the north end.
Yeah.
So being a preliminary.
It is a preliminary, correct.
Go ahead.
So with your approval, they'll
I'm just
take it
curious,
back
what
to
size
staff,
houses y'all looking
do
at?
all of the permitting to do the infrastructure.
Okay. Comments, motions?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Octavio makes the motion, Steve seconds to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
What's the name of that little subdivision that you pass before it's on the
Knob
right,
North?
and up on the hill?
Knob North?
No, well, yeah, not North Estates.
Not North
Not North
Estates,
Estates,
yeah.
yep. That helps you
Yeah.
pass that.
Yeah.
Ready for the next one?
Yep.
Thank you. See what am I looking at here? Oh, this is Dale Hamilton here by any chance? Hey Dale, you want to come on up in case they have any questions? This is a piece of property that you guys looked at for rezoning back, I don't know, sometime maybe last year, first of this year. It's zoned agricultural. He was trying to rezone to R2, I think? R2, R5 to develop a subdivision. You guys denied him. He never got formally denied by the Board of Commissioners because he wanted to come back with a different plan and not be denied and have to wait for 12 months. So this is his plan. He's come back with a seven-lot subdivision. I've kind of colored on your plan the ones that either exceed the 4:1 maximum ratio that we allow, or that one on the south end is actually a flag lot. And so all of these lots are very large, it's zoned agricultural. The smallest lot, I think that we have, you guys help me out here, I've got 6.5 acres, 5.71, 5.33, 5.0. So 5 acres
Top
is the
lot.
smallest lot size that we have, which is the smallest lot size you can have in
GA.
but he's allowing, asking you to allow this design to go forward as is.
What, Dale, where are you gonna put the houses?
I actually haven't, basically.
You can just describe it.
There's three, well, the first one, the north lot, it's about 2/3 of the way back. The second lot, the ones that are kind of more towards the,
Blue.
I guess that would be the east side, all of the houses will be up on top of the hill up there. So you probably won't even see those from Lake Cathy Road. The big lot on Lake Cathy, the house will be somewhere in the middle there. And then on the south side, there's already an existing barn, the house would be near that. There's already one existing house on the property.
Yep, yep.
Is your plan
County
to
engineer
build
told
out
me
these
today
homes,
that
or are you
each
just going,
lot
okay?
Is allowed to have a driveway.
If everybody's okay with it, the utilities and counties, I move we approve.
Chris makes a mo,
Everybody signed the flat.
Chris makes a motion approved. Octavio seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
This next one is Richards. This is off of, what road is this off of? West Broadacre. This property is zoned R2. It's a very large piece of property owned by one owner. What they're wanting to do is through the middle, cut out one flag lot for a family member. So it's a 50-foot flag lot.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's partially on both of those parcels. It is zoned R2. They already have a proposed house site. Their plat has been signed by everybody, as you will see, with the exception of planning commission approval.
Second.
Oop, wait. Brad first, Chris seconds. That's for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
This last one is, no, I'm sorry, they didn't turn their plat into me. This last one is on Underwood. Property is zoned R5. There are two existing manufactured homes already on this property, and they're trying to subdivide. And the only way that they can subdivide is to create a flag lot. The flag lot is the one on the east side, 50 feet road frontage, zoned R5.
Now, is that 26 feet?
No, you'll see that there's another 26.36, but there's another piece to it.
There's another 27.12.
Oh, that's just 20 arrows.
Where does that show?
Where's the 27? I don't see it.
If you follow, there's a little diagram, A equals 27.17. There's an arrow pointing up to it.
Oh, this here?
Okay.
But that's, it's no,
Where it says A equals 27.17, that means arc. You see it right there?
well, as long as he has the 50
Yeah,
foot.
he's got the 50 feet. More than-
Okay, motion.
First, I guess.
Octavia makes a motion to approve. Second.
Second.
Chris seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
That's all I got.
That's all you got? Any motion to adjourn? With no objections, we will adjourn.
All right, guys, thank you.
Thank
What do you
you.
think, Dave? You coming back?
Yeah, I might be back. I guess I made some friends.
Well, we hope so. You had a lot of good questions.
Yeah, you added, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
You definitely got a trial by fire.
That's the damn truth. Chris, I'm not gonna be here in September, so.
When's the meeting, in September?
I think it's the 28th. Could be wrong.
I am not here in August.
Okay.
When is the August meeting?
Yeah.
You- Can we get it right this time?
Hey,
When is the August?
on me.
Did you need these?
I don't know. There you go.
Can you keep those?
I can't. Well, I said, did you need these?
I do not.
Okay, I saw everybody else stack them.
August is, well, September
I could just need one.
28th.
Hey, Gene.
I'll be- You'll be here, August or no August? It's September.
Yeah.
We
You'll be
did.
here August.
Yeah, I won't be here in September.
We're adjourned.
Yeah, it did. Shut her down.
I will be here in September.